do. Yeah,
Go for it.
we'll do a quick introduction for those of you that might be joining us for the first time. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. This is sort of our special sub-series. We call this EPICompliance Leadership Insights. I'm your host, Raymond Walters, and I'm also joined by my co-host, Mr. Jose Delgado. And today we have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Jose Delgado, the CEO and president of EPICompliance. Dr. Delgado has over 20 years of experience in healthcare consulting. He has worked extensively with hospitals, clinics, and IT companies, and becoming a key resource for federal organizations like CMS and the Department of Veteran Affairs. Also, former Air Force. Dr. Delgado, glad to have you on this.
No, thank you. I will basically, the only thing I was thinking about, in a couple of months, it will be 30 years working in healthcare in the private industry.
Wow.
And before that, and this is going a little bit outside, but I remember even building clinics in the middle of the Amazon jungles, wells, and all kind of health issues. So yeah, but that was in a previous life before those 30 years. So, but I'm only 30 years old, so it doesn't really matter.
You just got 35 years experience or 34 years experience.
Hey, experience doesn't count. Okay,
so as we all know, this cybersecurity has become I would say, a critical issue in the healthcare sector, especially, the recent introduction of the Health Infrastructure Security and Accountability Act by, was it Senators Ron and Mark Warner? Or is it Ron Wyden and Mark Warner?
Yeah, Ron Wyden.
Or Wyden. And, Jose, we've done webinars in the past. I mean, it's definitely an issue this day and age. These cyber attacks change healthcare, Ascension, and this landmark legislation, it requires organizations to conduct these HIPAA security risk assessments through an independent third party now versus doing them in sort of on their own.
So there's a couple of things in that legislation, right? And that's some of the things that why we brought Dr. Delgado in, so that way we can speak a little bit more onto the topic. But some of the key highlights was that the federal government and the hospitals and the insurance companies, especially after your Ascension and change, are complaining to Congress that you can't hold us accountable for issues because you can't catch the people that did the bad thing and we don't have the resources to prevent them from doing the bad thing. Which, I hate to say it, but I don't know if that'll stand up in court, right? Like, I got to pay my mortgage even if I get robbed. You know what I mean? Like, whether you catch the guy or not, I got to pay my mortgage. That doesn't hold up in other areas, so I doubt that would hold up here. Right, Dr. Delgado?
That would not be a defense. But let me go even further.
Because I know I'm just throwing an analogy that's similar, right? That people that aren't in healthcare or aren't in administration at that higher level will understand what they're complaining about.
Well, the way you gotta look at it is in terms of HIPAA and the fines. If you have a violation of the law and you didn't know about it, you still have a mandatory fine. But if you knew about it, now the fine almost triple. So you got to look at, do I pay 50,000 per fine? Do I pay 150,000? So this is just that. Well, sorry, if you have somebody that hacked your system, you should have done better. So it actually works against you rather than just using that as an excuse. Well, I didn't know and you didn't catch it. So some of the cases that I have been looking at, the key here, because it's the fines, the law, how is that going to be implemented? Because once in then we go, so, okay, this is the effective date, this is the implementation date, but how do we go after those that are violators? Well, I actually have worked in a couple of cases where the client was guilty, period. Okay, one of them I thought there's no way that this person is going to be able to continue working and receiving federal funds. There was another case where I say, it's ugly. They got them. And in both cases, clients were able to get out without fines and resuming kind of normal because of the intent. Is your intent to protect your information, your system? Have you done everything to protect your system? And if you can prove that to the, I would say, satisfaction of whoever is handling the case at that point in time, you may actually be able to get away scot-free, which is never scot-free, because anytime you have a cybersecurity, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. But now, why also are we looking at this law? Well, again, I remember doing a conference about HIPAA security, and I have one person on her computer as I'm talking about. And I'm saying, okay, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do that. And in a break, I went to her and I said, what were you doing in the computer testing so much? And she said, well, I was testing and emailing to my HIPAA security officer and questioning, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done that? Because all along he told me that everything was taken care of. And now that I'm asking specific questions, the answers are a little bit gray, just to be polite. So this thing that is coming down the pipe is actually something that the Office of the Inspector General has mentioned. They say that anytime you have your own people reporting to you in terms of what they are doing, you have to question whether they really are doing and telling you what they're doing, or are they just telling you what you want to hear and they're not doing it because otherwise they will lose their job. So among and like I say, year 2023, when you really look at the numbers of attack, cybercrime, the
It was a wild
ransomware,
number. It was
is
a wild number.
270 something that have been reported, because there are a lot of companies that they pay for it and they don't report it because it's not to their advantage. So the problem is there is no one that is safe, period. So the best you can do is try to have your documentation and show your intent to be secure. But most people don't even know what that looks like. What is it that I have to do? And then, like many people that we know, the office manager gets dumped. Oh yeah, you have to do the HIPAA security. Oh yeah, you have to do the macro attestation. Oh yeah, what happened with my billing? I'm not getting paid. Oh yeah, this employee just slapped the other in the parking lot. What am I gonna do now? I mean, the things that I see on a daily basis, it just blows my mind. So it takes your focus away from what is important and what is it that you are supposed to do. And it gets to the point of, it is so complex, everything that we have to do, that's why we have EPI. Because for me, it was my commitment to, let me help you. And in terms of, when I talk with a new practice, dental lab, hospital, cardiology, it doesn't matter who they are. My thing is, if you cannot pay for compliance, don't bother talking about with me, because you're not going to succeed. Right now, based on the financial status where we are, I say you need to have a very strong compliance and sales program to succeed, because of the things that we were talking about, receiving less money, less payment. You don't have money, you don't have no blood in your system. You don't have a compliance program, you don't have antibodies, you're going to die. You don't have a good sales marketing program, you have no food, you're going to die. So this law, it actually takes that in a way that says, okay, so now we don't trust you, or you're not doing a good enough job. We want a third party, somebody that doesn't work for you, to do the security risk assessment. We're going to change the policies. We're going to increase the fines. We're going to add additional legislation to overlook at what you're doing. So I look at this and say, okay, fine. Having somebody, a third party, to look at your system, to really give you a roadmap to help you, because that's the other thing. People do a HIPAA security risk analysis, but very few people give you a security management plan. Well, what's the point of examining a patient if you're not going to treat them and tell them how they can actually improve? Doesn't make sense. Then the other part, oh, okay, so now you are going to penalize me even more if I'm not doing the things that you're telling me to do. Well, the reason for that, it could be a fundraiser, but it's also so pay attention. This is important. I mean, a lot of the time, when I work on the security reminders for our clients, when I work on the policies, I actually try to tell people, listen, don't think about this thing as just something that you have to do in your job. Use it in your home, because your home is just open for the same thing. Cybersecurity or cybercrime is going to be a little different when they get you, but they're going to get you. So use HIPAA security as a base to protect what you have. I mean, the other day I was looking into the security reminder dealing with passwords. And a lot of the concepts that we have in the past are incorrect. So I started using the system or the program that they have to check passwords.
Wait, what did the article say? Because when I talk to IT guys, there are usually two camps. There's either you're changing the password every 30 bloody days and you can't repeat the password for 2 or 3 years, or the camp of you make it one stupidly strong password that you never ever change.
Okay.
The Google recommended.
No.
Yeah, it'd be like a literal and it's random.
Yeah.
Alphanumeric, signs, all that stuff.
Well, one of the things that they say is that alphanumeric crap that nobody will remember, even if you write it down, is garbage. Don't do that. Okay? The second thing that they say is that the best password is basically a phrase. Write down a phrase and then add the differences. It's like for a while, I never used it, so I can say it because nobody will actually be able to break into any of my systems with that. I was saying, I like to cruise. And then I put the year and a month. And then any character at the beginning, middle, from that. And so I made my numbers, I made my length, I made my character. Boom. Now it's something I can remember.
So the article, to distill it under the simplest concept, would be, instead of having a question that you answer as a security question, your answer to the security question should be your password.
Oh, yeah. No.
My mother's last name is, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm going to answer that question, but then I want to get back to the new law. Okay.
Yeah.
When I have the security questions, right? Let's say, for example, a security question will come to me and say, what is your favorite color? Well,
favorite color.
I'm not going to say color. I may say, oh, Challenger. Why? Because nobody that is trying to break into a color will think about that. We are trained that a question must have the right answer. Forget about that, because it's easier to program a computer to hack based on all of the variables that could be the colors. And within seconds.
I hate this. Because this goes back to the same.
So Jose's forgot a security question before. That's what I'm getting.
No. You know what it is that it goes back to the literal balancing act of, if I want to make the information secure, I have to make it bloody impossible to access.
Yes, but because let's go back to the article.
There's no efficiency in business if I make it hard.
Yes, there is. But let's go back to the bill that they're talking about. They are trying to solve a problem.
Yes.
The problem is that the cybercrime is increasing exponentially. Cybercrime is targeting healthcare.
Yes.
So how do we solve that? Well, the problem is, like you say, the problem is I agree with having a third party doing the risk analysis. If nothing else, because let's have somebody from outside my company look at what I'm doing so that they can tell me, oh, you got a gap here. Okay, period.
Internal Affairs doesn't use the police from their own precinct, from that same precinct that they're investigating.
Exactly. Fair. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having people say, okay, we need to change the policies and procedures because the threat is changing daily. I mean, I can see my system. I get attacks daily, and it's not once a day, it's multiple. So fine. So
I don't get the Nigerian prince anymore. Now it's send me this and I'll send you $700 through like Cash App.
yeah, no.
You know?
Okay,
I always
stay
get
with me.
yeah.
Stay with me here. Okay. The thing is that now cybersecurity is changing. We are relying on, I would say, technology more and more. Because of it is evolving, then we need to change the standards. I mean, when HIPAA security came out at first, there were many of the requirements that were kind of gray. That's why I say this is addressable, this is required. Why? Because technology wasn't there, but they knew that technology was going to change. So this bill is actually looking at things are changing. So since our dependence on technology is changing, we need to change its standards with that so that people will be progressive protecting themselves. So the third party and the standards, I agree with that, which basically means policy, new policies.
Yeah.
What I don't like about the new bill is that increasing the fines. So you really want me to pay attention, but if I didn't pay attention to $50,000 to $1.5 million, you saying that it's 300,000 and 10 million is not going to move the needle for me.
Well, let me loophole this real quick because you and I have had clients that do this.
Yes.
If the fine, when I know there's an issue, is 3 times the number if I didn't know the issue, I'm not incentivized to look for the issue.
Yeah, but that's why
Because
it's
if I'm going
I
to
feel
get
like that's why
fined,
the fines
I'll
are
take the small fine rather than the
Right.
large fine, and it's a smaller amount that I negotiate as a starting point, right? Like on just a mathematical loophole, this is a real argument that you and I have had to deal with.
yeah. Yeah.
And I gotta say, it's a somewhat compelling argument.
Yes, but no. Because
If I'm
right now,
assumed to be guilty,
okay,
no matter what,
yes.
if I'm assumed to be doing this maliciously, no matter what, so I have to prove that I'm a dum dum and didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, ossifer, or I knew that and I didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, no, the problem right now is because at one point in time, and again, maybe a decade ago, if you went after an audit and a breach and say,
Mhm.
listen, I just didn't know, they say, okay, fine, we're going to cut you a break. Right now, for you to say, well, I didn't know better, so I deserve the lower fine, that's not going to fly anymore. Screw
No,
it.
no, it hasn't
You're going to
flown
be
since the
paid.
PPACA.
Yeah, you should have known better. It's like ignorant of the law. It's not an excuse. And sorry. So that part of I'm gonna be paying less because I didn't know, you are not gonna be able to support that, period. Now,
Agreed. I'm playing the devil's advocate for everybody in here, so that way everybody can have some fun with it. But
I know you
it is an actual argument that you and I have had all the way up until literally this past year.
yeah, that all of that comes from your mother's side. Let's go now to the Delgado side, that is the intelligent side. Okay, so
I
let's
won't
look.
tell her you said that for
You
the right
can.
price.
Doesn't matter. I've been sleeping on the sofa already for quite a couple of days. Okay, so let's look at this from the standpoint of my point is it doesn't matter. The fines are high enough already. You cannot use I didn't know any better. So what you need to do is just the opposite. Say my intent was to do this, this, and this to protect this from happening, but because there is no certain way to prevent anybody from hacking your system, period, that will give you a consideration from the OIG and the Department of Justice. But saying, oh, I didn't know, oops, no, that actually is another nail in your coffin. You're screwed. Okay. So I don't agree regardless of increasing the fine. The fines are high enough. I don't agree with another thing that the bill is looking at, which is increasing oversight. My God, I don't have time to do what I need to do on a daily basis. And you're going to be spending more money to actually look at what I'm doing. Guess what? That's going to happen. Well, they need to make the money. So that means that These people are going to have to actually get people with the hands on the kitty jar so that now I'm going to find you. Now you're going to have to settle. So that pays my salary. So
Yeah.
you
That's
are not
a-
helping me.
It's a double whammy right there.
Yes, it
Well,
is.
I mean, I'm curious to
mean-
know what department they would put, right? Because the FDA, HHS, FBI, like I don't know what department there is left. SEC, FCC, depending on how we market things, like what other department is there? We have Treasury, we have, like in some states, agriculture is involved depending on the kind of things that you do in your practice, like what other department is there?
But this is simple. The way I look at it is, and this is kind of funny because a couple of years back, there was an issue between the Office of Civil Rights, that is from the Department of Health and Human Services, on the Office of the Inspector General, because
Uh-huh.
OCR was responsible to enforce HIPAA. And the
Yeah.
OIG say, listen, it was pretty much like, you are not enforcing it. You are giving everybody a pass. So OIG came strong and then came the Department of Justice. So if I was the governor, I say, well, I really need to enforce this thing. I will put the additional funds and the additional people overlooking either in the Office of Civil Rights or the Department of, no, Office of Civil Rights or the Office of the Inspector General. More leaning toward the Office of the Inspector General because number one, they are already used to conducting this investigation. Number two, because the money is going to be very sweet. Most of the time, they keep 1/3 of the money of the fines. So, oh yeah, the bill with the additional oversight will actually fund itself.
Yeah.
I can tell you that again, because we don't mention this too often, but I NFA that are contractor. I have conducted audit for some of the government organizations. I was trained to do that. And I still get the proposals when CMS is looking to start a new audit system. So when I look at this and I say, wow, I can actually go right now into any office, let it be state, federal, private, doesn't matter the size. And I can bet you that within sometimes just sitting in the waiting area, I
Yeah.
can list all of the violations that I see and the amount of the fine. And I can even calculate in terms of Medicaid what will be the fines on that. So nobody's perfect. So for me, increasing the oversight is not helping me because it's just increasing the number of people that I'm going to be looking at the sins that I have to do. That now with this new bill, there will be more sins I have to accomplish. It's, from that standpoint, I don't like it because it won't solve the problem.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to legislate their way out of a problem, but they don't even understand the problem to do it. No, I mean, but that's the federal government for you.
Oh yeah, but they are actually giving more money to the hospitals and certain
Of course,
organizations so they
of
can meet the
course,
requirements of this.
of course. Screw the small business, but give it to all the bureaucratic bloat in the hospitals. And I'll fight anybody at a hospital if they tell me that they don't have bureaucratic bloat. I'll be able to go through that in no time.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I mean, when we're talking about something like this, how do I prep? What do I do? I'm a small practice. I have limited resources. If the hospitals and insurances are complaining, what hope do I possibly have? Right? Like, I think the only thing that's saving most small practices is that there's so much money in the hospitals that they haven't really decided to go to the small practices unless you got unlucky. Right? Like,
Yeah.
because most of it has been targeted towards
Big money.
larger organizations, and they've been doing it in the, I would argue, the lowest tech manners have been the most successful. Either hitting the vendors, either jumping in with a patch for IT, or an employee does something stupid, because they didn't get rid of old credentials from an ex-employee, or they logged into something they weren't supposed to log into. This is all old stuff. They're not even brute force hacking anymore.
Oh no, they are. They're still doing
But I
it.
mean, it's
But
not it. Of course
it's
they
too
are,
easy.
but
It's too easy right now to do it that you don't have to do the brute force. I mean, for the last
It
2
takes too much
years,
time.
yeah, I've been
Yeah.
looking and tracking all the different incidents for the last 2 years. And it wasn't only, but recently, that as a matter of fact, I'm going to be posting the blog about that hopefully today, that they actually, somebody used brute force to hack because it was so easy to get into somebody else's email. It's so easy to go the phishing route, the spam. I mean, the the problem with
Low
cyber,
tech is the best tech for shit like this.
yeah, the problem with cybercrime is that it's profitable. I mean, right now there are some organizations that are like corporations, and they are
Yeah.
making multi-millions, not billions of dollars. Ransomware is there. And the problem with ransomware for me is, why is it that you do not have a backup that works that is not connected to the system all the time? Period. There's no excuse for it.
Well, now hold on. You
Yes.
and I both know that the practices that do most of the practices. Let me give the caveat so that way there's somebody on that opposite bell curve. But most of the practices that even do have a backup haven't tested their backup. So most of the times the backup is corrupted.
Yeah.
Or they don't even know how to use the backup. So cool, I have a backup. It's a disk, but I don't know where the bloody hell this disk goes. Yeah, I don't even know what way to put it in. You know what I mean? Like, because nobody uses them.
No,
They have them, but they don't use them.
the sad part is when you basically say, I have a backup and the backup system that went down, it was corrupted, but I don't have where to put it because the system is obsolete. I have one case that I was working trying to help a client, and they say, no. We pay our EHR to keep the backup for us for the last 6 years. Well, what happened? That EHR company sold to another one, that sold to another one. So when we went to them, they say, oh, that was under such and such. Let's see if we can even still have it. And then it was, oh, it was corrupted. And that was it. So they were not on the line. It was this particular client was on the line to say, what do I do now? And the request came from Medicare. So I said, holy crap. So it's been, actually, that was one of the worst cases because I got pissed at the EHR charging prime money.
Yeah.
And
They were still charging to be doing that backup and holding the record, the custodian, being custodian of the record. But my problem is that now, again, they're hacking the EHRs. They're hacking the claims processors. So I mean, I can't even trust the EHR.
Yeah. Well, the EHR had never been secure.
I mean,
people come to me and say, well, because remember, we're trying to tell the offices, listen, you need to have an EHR. And you need to share that information with everybody and their mother. Oh, but by the way, you are responsible for any unauthorized access to that information. I say, well, you're trying to have me do it on an electronic platform that we all know is not secure. Because no matter what people say, secure is encrypted, it's not secure. Because even the point to point, again, I'm not going to go into the technology right now. We don't have the
Human
time.
element. Human element.
Human element.
Then you're telling me that I have to create it in such a system that can actually connect with other systems that may be different. But at the same time, I basically have to protect it so that nobody that is not supposed to can have it. It's impossible. You're contradicting yourself. And it's been like that all along. But anyway, let's look into what can our people do. Okay? So because it is a bill, it has not been signed yet, but probabilities of this passing are very strong. Number one,
or at least a form of it. I'm sure a form of it will pass with some foreign spending in there somewhere. Put some pork in there. Let's see what it'll get through the line.
But increasing the fines more than likely will pass because it's the way they think they will solve the problem, and actually it will just fund the operations of oversight. Yeah, that's going to come along. The cybersecurity.
But all these guys, Who the hell is doing this in the States now? Everybody that's doing this is in a non-extradition country. So they're just laughing.
Yeah. Yes.
They're just
Yeah.
laughing at us from 3,000, 5,000 miles away, being like, hey, over here, I did it. You can't do ish about it.
Right. Not only
Thanks
that,
for your money.
they're saying, oh,
I'm
by
gonna
the
go
way,
buy a Ferrari and post it on Instagram.
thanks for the $3 million that took me half an hour to get. And
Thanks,
then,
Baptist. Thanks,
and
Ascension.
yeah,
Thanks, eClinicals.
yeah,
Thanks, Change.
and now they will laugh even more. And now your government is penalizing you for that. Oh boy, this is fun. It's
I know.
it
I
is
know. And they don't pay taxes on it. So they don't even have to pay the freaking IRS.
okay.
It makes you wonder if there's any US based groups as well that are doing it internally to us as well, you know.
The
These
only
hacks.
places they would hit would be extradition countries because
Yeah.
Russia doesn't really use EHRs. They're a nationalized system anyways.
Okay, so let's bring it down to earth, guys. Okay, because we're scaring people. They're gonna say, "I'm not working
Look
on
at
this
that.
anymore. Screw it! I'm just gonna be a plumber. I charge
Well, I mean,
$100 an hour."
I'm selling my
but it's
practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
well, you know what it is though. I always sit here and say, well, this is literally just like my chances of getting cancer. There are certain things that I cannot control that dictate my percentages being higher or lower. There are certain things I can do that can control it and dictate that and reduce the liability and possibility of being such a thing, right? So there's always going to be certain specialties that I believe and certain sizes of practices that are going to be better targets than others. You know, your smaller one doc, two doc shop is not going to be worth the trouble versus a multi-state operation or a claims processor that one hack apparently is dealing with up to a third of the patient population in the US. So
Okay, so let's go back. Like I say, the number one thing that I look at it, regardless of that, regardless of the law, one thing that I have been able to use to the benefit of our client is intent. Did you have the intent of protecting the information, or do you have the intent of following the law? That you follow the law step by step is not a requirement. There are times that I say, no, we're not going to do it this way, even though that's what the law says, because of this reason. If you can have documented the reason why you're doing what it is, and that your intent is to follow what the law says, that alone will help you. But how does that look like? Okay, and again, this is going to sound awful, but it's the reality of what we're doing. Well, that's why we do the SRAs from Taino Consultants, to make sure that we're meeting that piece. It's a third party, and then we're telling you what you need to do, but you got to be careful because depending on how you do it, you may increase the liability. So that's why we always say, yeah, go into EPICompliance, and everything you need to do is from EPICompliance. I am changing, right? You may not like this thing.
Oh man.
I'm updating all of the modules, all of the forms, all of the tasks. I'm updating all of that ahead of this law, so that if that audit comes along, we did everything possible and we have it documented under EPI. So everything that we can do to help our clients, we are doing. These webinars are also designed to teach them. Be careful about this, be careful about that. This is coming down the pipe, this is coming down the pipe, so that they can have, and I would say, an action plan. From after the audit, it's called a corrective action plan. Right now, it's just what is the plan that we have, how we're going to do it, so that we can actually implement. The reality is cybersecurity crime is there. So when you look at the scenes, use it from your own, I mean, for your own personal life. And actually have, in my house, I have one scene that is a potential violation that could get into my system. That's my pool system. My pool is connected to the internet, so I can turn on the jacuzzi. And I say, I hate that. I'm about ready to just tear that box away and break it. because
I don't know about that. Your supervisor may have something to say about that.
yeah, but the firewall on some of those systems are crap. So
Yeah.
you need to protect the other systems that actually have information, but people don't think about that. The doors. Okay, I will go, my door, I can open, I can look, all of that. Hello, if you can access, somebody else can access. So everything that we look as a convenience, I look at it from the standpoint of cybersecurity. How will I be able to protect that? And once you get there, then they can actually install something in your system, your computer, your phone, so that when you go to work, it just bounces and gets into the work system. So is how we live. So for me is, if you are going to play the game, know the rules.
Yeah.
So in a way, we could actually turn this into a cybersecurity training about what are the do's and don'ts, what are the scams, what are happening here. But that's the security reminders that we're selling.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are reading them, but we're putting them out. We're putting the information, the blogs that I write on their Taino Consultants, and we put on there. All of that is designed to help our clients. What else we can do? I don't know, but if anybody have an idea, please share it with me. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, Ray, you've been quiet. Any questions from you?
No, I think you nailed it on the head. And I mean the main thing, you know, get get an SRA by a third party like Taino Consultants. Because like I said, it's I know the bill's not approved yet, but you said it's more than likely going to be, and I don't think that's going to change, period. Even if
Well,
they they change it up a little bit, I feel like that's going to be an absolute requirement. Because if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Delgado, isn't there insurance companies and such that are requiring SRA to be
malpractice
done?
companies are doing
Malpractice
that.
companies.
Yeah.
It
I
only
mean,
Malpractice
makes
really,
companies run that.
venture capitalism, malpractice, it's the law. I mean,
yeah.
you have to do an SRA no matter what. If you're a covered entity or a business associate, you must do an SRA. If you are under MACRA MIPS, that's part of the attestation requirements. You
I almost
have to
feel
have your SRA.
I almost feel like that's why fines are increasing now, or they're looking to increase the fines, is because, well, now it's out there. You have to get one done by a third party, and if you're not, that's I feel like that's a little piece of why these, the fines are going to be a little more heavier
Well, that,
if they catch somebody doing it,
yeah.
doing it themselves, or using their own internal process versus going through a third party.
Yeah, that actually
Well,
has always been there, but it has
Yeah.
been there as a guideline. You should use a third party to do this only because it's the only way to do it. You have to do it. The actual, and this is, HIPAA says that you have to do an SRA initial, and then anytime anything significant changes in your system. But you never know what is significant. Nobody knows. So the
Right.
other laws that have come after that, not necessarily HIPAA, are saying, no, you got to do it every year. And then, like I say, and I know that Jose was going to mention this, in a lot of these laws, what they say, you don't have to send it to me, but you need to do an attestation that you completed it. So what happened? Most of the people don't even think about it. Say, yes, we completed. Okay, guess what? You committed fraud. And you committed fraud because you want to get paid, because if you say that you completed it, you're going to receive more money from the federal government. You're
Mm,
screwed
yeah.
now. So it is something that most people don't think about it. And most people say, I'll go to my IT company to do it. Jose, how many IT companies, SRS, have we seen?
so, and that's kind of where I was going to go next, right? Like next week, Ray and I are going to dive in a little bit deeper into the kinds of things you should look at when you
Deciphering.
get the SRA back. Like
Yeah.
okay, you got an SRA. Cool. You literally just put on your pants to take a walk, but you haven't taken that actual first step yet because you don't know where to take that first step to, right? So,
And
you got
hypothetically,
to take a
Jose,
look.
these SRA plan, there's not going to provide a plan like Taino Consultants would
Well, I
as
mean,
well. In a
I'm
sense.
not even necessarily saying that we're the only people that could ever do a
Well,
good
right.
job. What I'm
Right.
saying is, if you've gotten one done before and it doesn't address this, and this, then maybe you didn't quite get one done, right? Because we've seen nursing outfits where they used to be charge nurses or ER department nurses, and now they do SRAs and consulting, but they only look at the clinical side. They don't even look at the admin side, they look at the clinical side. And then you have the IT companies that are only looking at the IT portion, but they're not even doing that crap right because they're only basing it off of the package that the client gets. So if you're on a break fix contract or you're on a basic MSO agreement, then they're going to go and be like, all right, boom, 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 and we're moving on. Or even there was even an IT company I talked to a little bit ago, which I don't understand how they did this, but they offered to their client to do the questionnaire that the malpractice asks for, which is similar to but different than the assessments that you can the self-assessments that you can do through the federal government.
Oh,
So through HHS. Oh no. So I was sitting here like, and I was asking him because the practice thought that the IT was doing an SRA. And the IT was like, no. I don't want that liability. And I was like, wait, but you want the liability when you're dealing with the malpractice. Hey, whatever, boo-boo. I don't care. Point of the matter is that you know what an SRA is. You know you're not doing it. The client thinks you are. We need to address this. So it's a simple matter for me of what do we do? How do we get it done? In most cases, I would say that an SRA for a small practice does not necessarily have to be painful.
right.
It doesn't have to be painful. It sounds complex. It's more an annoying pinprick than an actual problem. When you have a system, and I say a system as in I've got more than 3 locations. I've got 8 providers. I've got 150 employees. I've got the organization that the practice is under, plus, maybe a hospital, maybe a surgery center or a dialysis center or an imaging spot. Now we're getting into more complex things where this is kind of one, it's very serious. It's always serious, but now it's okay, let's roll up our sleeves because now we have to ask a lot more questions because there's a lot more complexity. But again, it goes back to the same thing. It should only be as complex as the organization. You got a simple organization, this is a simple process. You got a complex organization, buckle up, boo boo. It's just one more thing you got to deal with.
Okay. So, guys, it's 2:18. I
Yep.
don't know how long this thing are supposed to be.
No, we usually run right about now. If anybody's got any questions or anything, put them in the chat. We'll address them. Any last things, Dr. Delgado? You wanna
Oh, there's
say while anybody's typing something
multiple
up?
things. Yeah, but like I say,
Save it for the next one.
yeah. Well, the thing is, what happens? Most of the people don't even get that SRAs are based on calendar year. And that's why we get so busy doing SRAs in November, December, which is, hey, listen, the sooner you do it, the better it is. So don't wait till December to do it. If you can do an SRA in March, you can do one in May, you can do it in June. Right now, we're at the end of the year. So you better get it done. And these are not simple. They are specific requirements, but I understand you're going to be talking about that next week. So with that, I go back to the point of everything I can do through EPICompliance, Taino Consultants to help out our clients. That's why we're here. Okay. And we will continue to do that and change the system as needed to cover. But you got to meet me somewhere. I cannot do the whole thing for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
No. And I mean, the SRA it's your physical. You can't treat a patient without an evaluation. We're in healthcare, right? Like it is absolutely wild to me that everybody wants to freak out in my house right now. I completely apologize, guys. I'm sure you can hear everybody and everything. So
No worries,
but I mean, I would say that honestly, you gotta do the eval so you know at least where you're headed, where you need to head. And you don't have to be perfect. The federal government doesn't expect you to be perfect.
Right.
The OCR, the auditors don't expect you to be perfect. The important thing is that you show improvement from one year to the next. But if you never do one, you can't show improvement, right? Like, I hate to use simple analogies again, but if I have high blood pressure and I'm overweight, but I never get a physical done, my doctor doesn't know how much I weigh. So if I walk in there weighing 250, and then in 5 years I walk in there at 220, he doesn't know if I've actually been working on losing weight or I just decided to not eat, or you know what I mean? Like there's no
Right.
gradual progression. So he's going to ask me more questions of, well, what the hell did you do the last 5 years? How did you lose 30 pounds? You know, that's not an insignificant amount of weight to lose and keep off. You know, so it's something where once you start, you want to stay with it. I will say it is more difficult when you have a smaller practice where everything is usually tied to one person on admin. And if you have a lot of turnover at that role, at that admin role or at that compliance role, it makes it harder to keep up with. So honestly, I would have it set up to where you can just always address it with your consultant or with your compliance company every, once a year, set it as an anniversary date on your calendar, it just makes life a little bit easier.
Yep. Okay. Well, guys,
Cool. Yep. So
pleasure.
Ray, what next week we've got the
We're gonna talk
you got
about-
the SRA done. What's
Yep.
next? And then the
Following that,
week after that,
week after that, we're going to talk about the sort of Change Healthcare cyber updates with Ascension Health as well, and then the week of Thanksgiving, we're going to be talking about the naughty list again.
yeah, the naughty list. So that way, all of our listeners can sit here and be like, "Hey, it's not us. We have something to be thankful for, right?" You know,
Exactly.
it's a great way to lead right into Turkey Day.
It's a holiday edition.
Yeah.
Let's,
Ray, what are you gonna get me for our anniversary, huh? We're coming up on it.
I know we are actually. I think we're close to our 50th video.
Well, you know what,
I'm doing
Ray?
that. We've done it every week since October,
It
mid-October.
should be Ray. All
No,
I'm saying is I'm expecting a gift. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll think of
You
something.
guys are
for
so
you.
cute together. Okay,
I'll think of something.
I gotta
for you.
work. Somebody has to pay the bills
Trevor-
here because evidently you guys are not working.
A Trevor
So-
Lawrence jersey.
Tracy, you want to give too? Well, it is Thanksgiving, so we'll figure something out.
Tracy, we'll get back to you.
Yep. So perfect, guys. Well, then if there's no questions, then we will see you guys next week. Stay out of trouble. Stay warm if you're north of the Mason-Dixon. Down here, we're still in shorts. And have a good one.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Delgado. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.